Greetings. Welcome to Saturday at 2:30, the video podcast I do here every Saturday at 2:30 Central Time on Facebook Live and then put on my YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about cosmic muffins and fluffy bunnies. Now that requires some explanation. There's a well-known fantasy author, Mercedes Lackey, who has written, many books, but among them a series of mystery novels where the protagonist is named Diane Teargrade, who is a member of a reconstructed modern pagan religion called Wicca. And the protagonist in the stories is scornful about people who don't believe bad things happen. They believe in a universe that is light and fluffy, where only good things happen and everything happens really for the best. And she calls this view of the universe the cosmic muffin. That the universe is a wonderful, safe place where everything tastes good and everything happens for the best. Where evil is, only an illusion, and Teargrade doesn't have a lot of truck for these people, and presumably neither does Ms. Lackey. Recently, spiritual directors have come to coin a parallel term they call fluffy bunnies. It's the same thing. People who over-focus on what is cute and nice and pointedly ignore anything that is dark or troubling, painful, or wrong. These are people who deal with distressing social and political developments by simply not reading newspapers or watching the news. They just act as if it weren't happening and go on with their life as if fluffy bunnies were real. Now, this attitude towards life that, I'm not going to deal with anything bad, I'm not going to deal with anything dark, I'm not going to deal with anything that puts a question mark on my belief about the universe. This attitude is fundamentally, spiritually lazy. It's a form of denial. You see this a lot in contemporary world where right now we're dealing with the pandemic and lots of other problems. I encounter people who just don't want to hear about it because it might upset their preconceived opinion that everything's wonderful. And their circumstance is wonderful. They're living a privileged life, and they don't want anything that would call that into question. Years ago, when the consulting hypnotist profession was fighting for our survival, nota bene, I am the legislation and governmental concerns person for the National Guild of Hypnotists. And I was the point person for a lot of the political battles with rival groups, like groups of psychologists and psychiatrists who were trying to pass laws that say that only they could do hypnosis, even though in most cases they had no training at all in the hypnotic arts and sciences. But they realized that it worked, and they wanted to be able to corner the market so they could presumably charge whatever they wanted. We were engaged in battling those people, what we've now come to call the hypno wars. And I would meet with groups of hypnotists and try to build support. Do you realize what these people are doing? Here is the legislation they're putting in intended to put you out of business. We need your help. We need you to organize petitions. We need you to go to state capitals and attend committee meetings and talk to lawmakers. And a lot of these people, they wouldn't even hear it. They wouldn't even make eye contact with me while I was saying these things at their meetings. They would look at the wall or sit there with their eyes closed. And when pressed, we'll send these people white light and everything will be fine. Okay, that's an example of someone who believes in fluffy bunnies and the cosmic muffin. It's quite a difficult thing for me to deal with, and probably one of the most troubling parts of my professional life, having to cope with colleagues who thought that way. Um, the reality is that bad things do happen, and they happen to good people. And life isn't fair, and the universe isn't kind. I mean, it's possible to get giddy thinking about, the order of nature and how if too many rabbits get produced, then the wildcats also expand their population and they cull the rabbits back to the level that the environment can support. And isn't everything wonderful, the great circle of life and all of that? Which is fine, provided you don't happen to be one of the extra rabbits, in which case you probably have a different opinion about the matter. In theology, there is a thing called theodicy, the question about why does bad happen? If God is all good, if the universe is good, why do bad things happen? And theologians have attempted many different answers to this question. It's one of the great themes in theological thought. No one, in my opinion, has come up with a thoroughly satisfactory answer, although I think some are probably better than others. If you want to know what I would give a personal yay saying to, read Rabbi Kirshner's book, Would Bad Things Happen to Good People? But when I was writing my dissertation for my doctoral degree, I did a lot of work in the writing of about the writing of an American author, Herman Melville, and his book Moby Dick, kind of the great American novel. And Melville wrote about the dark things in life, symbolized by the great white whale Moby Dick. But you see Captain Ahab's obsession, you see addictive behavior and the people aboard the ship, the Pequot. Common people struggling with a difficult, wolfish world. Yet, Melville writes about them as if they're heroes, and he weaves round them, as he says, tragic graces, showing that these people, in the face of difficulty, show moral behavior, they show heroism, they show praiseworthy personal traits. And that's kind of the view I take of a lot of this stuff. You look at a single parent struggling to survive and to feed the family. Well, it's difficult, it's hard, it's not right that this should happen. But there is a kind of a heroism about someone who's doing their best with that. And that heroism can be appreciated. We see people who are fighting for a more just world and taking their lumps in the process. Still, they're praiseworthy. Bad stuff definitely happens. The cosmic muffin isn't real, and trying to just focus on that and fluffy bunnies is a form of spiritual laziness and denial. But if you don't do that, you can see, even in difficult, dark things, a tragic grace, a heroism, a virtue. People have admirable qualities that are displayed often at the darkest times. It's true of us too, as persons. We all contain a dark side. Carl Jung, in his psychoanalytic theory, calls that our shadow. The shadow is all the roads not taken, all the decisions we didn't make, all the things we turned away from and now maybe feel some regret or attraction to. But he believed that deep in the unconscious mind, there is a fundamental drive toward wholeness. And as we go through the arc of our lives, the unconscious mind increasingly tries to integrate all the parts of ourselves that we've left behind, including our shadow. And we try to come to terms with that, find a way to appropriate some of it appropriately. And this process occurs the older we get, provided our mind remains intact, and accelerates, especially, Jung believed, in the 70th decade of life. Focusing just on the good parts of yourself, the parts of yourself that you're proud of, and not focusing at all on the parts of yourself that you're not proud of, is a denial of your shadow. It's a kind of psychological fluffy bunny, and it results in a self-assessment that is flawed. So the thing to realize is that the cosmic muffin isn't sweet. Fluffy bunnies aren't real. Bad things do happen. But the heroism of everyday living is real, can be appreciated. The heroism of our own internal struggles with our own dark side, the same. We can appreciate the victories that we've achieved doing that and come to a more modern and balanced understanding of our universe as a mixed place of good and bad, and our personalities the same way, but that through it all there is a fundamental theme that is good. So that's what I have to share today. Thank you for your time and attention. I'll be back next week with another talk. Also, will be a theological one. I'm going to talk about the religious beliefs of Albert Einstein. I recently encountered some stuff in social media claiming to be his religious beliefs and not correct. Einstein wrote extensively about his religious beliefs, and so I'll be sharing kind of a summary of that for you, for those who are interested. And if I can be of help to you, don't hesitate to reach out. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you much. Do well.